Hi, I'm Profe, and I've been teaching Spanish since 2000. I have a Teachers Pay Teachers store for Spanish teachers, and I create these videos to share new activity ideas that you can use in your Spanish classroom tomorrow morning. So, if you've seen my store before, you know that I have thousands of products, and I know that it's really easy to get lost in the options. Not only am I overproductive, but I'm also overly organized as well. So, if you click below, you can find free product guides to help you find the activities for the topic that you are teaching this week. You can also follow my store to get announcements about upcoming sales.
The product you're looking at is what's called a booster. A booster is a really simple warm-up activity that's designed to be intentional scaffolding of the most challenging grammar skills, but in whatever verb tense you're currently exploring with your classes. So like verbs like gustar are in most textbooks that's taught in present tense, but it's applicable in any tense. So what if we just had a 5-minute warm-up that's like, what does that look like in subjunctive? What does that look like in future and conditional? What does that look like in an if clause even? So it's just a short warm-up activity. It's great for modeling before a project. If you're like, hey, I know we're working really hard on predicate versus imperfect, but you're going to be using said and a star. So let's just take a minute to quick recap that. It might be a good extra credit assignment. They're very basic. You just get a short slide deck in PDF and editable and a handout for the students in PDF and editable. So it's not a big game. You can make it one if you want to, but it's just intended to be a simple review.
Okay, let's take a look at some examples of boosters. So the first one that I came up with was verbs like gustar, because verbs like gustar are such a hard skill, normally only taught in the present tense. So for example, this one looks at what is that like in the present subjunctive. So you're going to start with a handout that looks something like this with a little reminder. What do the verbs mean? What are our steps? And that's what students are going to be filling out. And they're all brightly color coded. Here's a reminder of what those verbs are. Here's how we do it. And here's a sample. And each step of the instructions is color coded so you know what they're talking about. And then the follow up has just examples all using the present subjunctive. So, es posible que a ti te molesten los gatos, for example. So, trying to show what does this look like if it's got the opposite ending. Okay, then another one, IOPs and DOPs. I think that's a skill that is hard for kids. It's normally taught in present tense, but we need it in all tenses. So what does that look like in preterite and imperfect? The handout looks like this. Basic guidelines for IOPs and DOPs over here. A place to chart out the direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns, and place to write samples. Those are the notes for them. Again, brightly colored, and then here's some examples. And what you're going to notice is that everything's color coded. So the DOP replaces whatever is directly acted upon orange. You're going to see those all in orange. And then if it's a conjugated verb, you're going to see that in green. If it's attached to the end, you're going to see that in blue. So you have direct guidance as you go about what that looks like. And if it has the IOP change to say, then that's in red. So it's kind of got those visual triggers. If your kids have highlighters, great time to pull those out. Here's an example of the por versus para boosters. I just pulled out, for example, future and conditional. So that's what the sheet looks like for the kids. You go over real quick, what are the different uses of por versus para? And then, again, color-coded. We've got the future in yellow, conditional in orange, the uses of por in green, and the uses of para in blue, translations in purple, so they can get whatever they need. Another type, saber versus conocer boosters. This, I think, is especially helpful for preterite and imperfect, where there are meaning changers. So there, you're going to have the general, what's the difference in definition, but then what are the conjugations? So we've got both preterite conjugations and imperfect for both verbs, and then samples of each verb in each tense fleshed out to see what that looks like. Another type of booster are reflexive verb boosters, because again, normally taught in the present tense, but reflexive happen all over the place. So this one is, what would that look like in the present subjunctive? Same kind of idea. General handout for the kids. Go over the big ideas. What are reflexives? What are those pronouns? And then again, you're going to see color coding, the subject in orange, the reflexive pronoun in yellow, the verb in green or blue if it's attached to the end of an infinitive or a present participle. And then finally, an example of a ser versus star booster. I mean, man, if there's one skill we can just boost constantly, it's ser versus a star. And again, I think for this one, a great example is, what does that look like in preterite and imperfect? Because we are now dealing with what's the difference in the usage of those verbs, but also they both have such irregular conjugations. So looking at the conjugations first, and then actually having a conversation about both of these verbs are more likely to be an imperfect than preterite. Why? What is it about these things that are generally more ongoing and not incidental events? And then you have samples of where it could happen. Where would you actually see a star other than preterite? It's not that common, but where might that happen?
Whenever you buy Spanish activities from my store, you will get detailed instructions for you and for your students so that you can be ready to roll tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. I hope you feel like you have one more tool for your teacher's toolbox. If you have any questions, my email is down below.